Hemant Sikka, President Farm Equipment Business with Mahindra Mahindra, joins us now. Let's connect with him to understand what trend is he currently experiencing and what his predictions and expectations are for this entire season now that monsoon has kicked in. Hemant, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nicholas.
Walk us through the numbers. There is a lot of volatility in the numbers. I'm looking at last 3 months trend, and when we were hoping for strong demand in the month of, let's say, March, April, or May, we saw a lot of volatility instead of that.
So, Nicholas, let me share the details with you. So, first of all, quarter one has been the best ever quarter for the industry as a whole, and also best ever quarter one for Mahindra. The industry in this month has grown by in this quarter has grown by 15.9%, whereas in Mahindra we have grown by 18.3%. So we have beaten the industry, gaining some valuable share point gains. Now coming to the month on month, clearly April and May were very, very strong for us. The growth was close to 50%. Obviously, growth at 50% cannot sustain. Last year, June was a very high base month. So this month, in the month of June, the industry has declined by about 14.5%, and so has Mahindra. But overall, I think we should not look at month-on-month trend because this is a seasonal industry. It has to go with how the progress of the monsoon goes. So on a quarterly basis, which is like a good time period over a 3-month thing, the industry has grown by almost 16% and we in Mahindra have grown by 18.3. So I see that the industry is on a very good path. And if the monsoon pans out well, which is like looking very good in the last 7 to 8 days, and if this holds on for, let's say, next 2.5, 3 months, we are looking at a very good kharif crop also going forward.
Base number, will it be closer to 40,000? Can I say that becomes now the base number irrespective of what the situation is?
No, Anuj, that cannot happen because, unlike the auto industry, which is like you buy a car or an SUV and you can buy any month, you can buy now, you can buy after 3 months. A tractor doesn't sell like that. Tractor has to go with the cropping pattern. So there will be months when nothing is happening in the field for the usage of the tractor, then only commercial application sells. So obviously in those months, the growth muted, but on the whole, if you see YOY trend, we are looking at a positive growth for the industry in the whole of FY23 this year.
We've gone through a patch of very strong agri-inflation. A strong agri-inflation for farmer means that if they produce more, they get more realization. But that is reversing. Prices have started coming down. What role do you think this reversal in agri-inflation will have on tractor sales?
Anuj, again, very good question. So let me just take a step back and talk about how the change in sentiment happened in the middle of March. As you rightly said, you see variation month on month, even in last year. So if you see last year, the industry degrew by 6.5%. We in Mahindra degrew only by 2.2%. So that is why we ended up at a market share of almost 40% last year. Going forward, what we see is that the rabi crop, the wheat prices, as you know, were really very strong. In certain pockets, we have seen that with a lot of export potential, which opened up suddenly with the situation in Ukraine and Russia, the mandi prices on wheat were ruling 25 to 30% higher than the MSP. And the good thing was that the farmers were getting their payments absolutely like immediately. So with a good payment cycle and with prices ruling almost 30% higher, I think that changed the sentiment somewhere around the period of Holi, which is like, let's say, middle of March. And we were seeing that trend continued very strongly in April, maintained the same trend in May. And then on a high base, obviously, there was a little degrowth in the month of June. And also that monsoon had a delayed start for a couple of weeks, which we are now seeing that it is picking up. So clearly what we saw is that the rabi output was very, very remunerative for the farmers. Now let's talk about going forward, how will the kharif pan out? Now IMD in its forecast has confirmed that this year, the monsoon are going to be normal. Anuj, this would be the 4th year running that the monsoon will be a normal monsoon. This has never happened since the independence of India. So this is like a very, very big deal for the farmer and for the agri economy. So if the monsoon actually pans out to be a normal monsoon, I see that the kharif will also be a good crop. We are already seeing in the last 7 to 8 days that the sowing, which was almost minus 20% compared to to last year for the week ended 24th of June has picked up pace. And now for the week ending end of June, we have seen that the deficit is only 5% on the sowing. So the sowing is progressing very well, especially on certain crops in certain states where we are seeing very large demand coming for puddling application. So that means the paddy has also started going ahead very well. So I see that if the monsoon pans out well, overall the growth for the industry, even for the kharif period, will be very good.
Mr. Sikka, the name is Nikunj Dalmia. I thought there was some confusion there, so I'm going to just introduce myself. I'm the managing editor of ET now, and you're an ET now, because I thought you were getting confused slightly in terms of remembering. So the name is Nikunj Dalmia, sir.
I take that, Nikunj. Good to see you.
Okay. My next question is, what about metal prices, raw material prices? They were on the wrong side for an auto company. While this agri pattern has been helpful because that has created a demand for farmers to produce more, the metal prices which were on the high side, now they are reversing. What happens to the underlying demand? And if metal prices come down more, would you be passing them on? Would you be retaining them?
Nikunj, as you know very well, that last 2 years have seen unprecedented increase in metal prices. So obviously the input costs have been on a very high inflation. As you rightly said, we are seeing very early signs of commodities softening. There has been a sharp fall, and if this sharp fall continues to go ahead, clearly it will be very good from the input price point of view. But let me tell you that last year, we in Mahindra took a lot of actions to manage our costs better. So our first endeavor is, before we pass on any increase, can we cut our costs further? Can we be more productive? Can we bring our efficiency levels higher? So all that work was done last year. And still we had to pass on a few increases. We took 3 price increases last year. And in this financial year, we took our first price increase in middle of April. And starting July, we have taken another price increase. So that is because the input inflation is so much that in spite of taking all the actions to bring better efficiency, better productivity, we still have to pass on some of the increases. However, if the trend holds of the softening of commodity prices, I think the situation will become much easier. But right now, I would say that the prices of metals which are currently prevailing are still at a higher level compared to last year. However, if the trend continues, obviously this will be very good. Having said that, we have taken 2 price increases in this financial year already.
Yeah, we're aware of that, Mr. Sikka. So, all these measures that you're talking about, will they enable you to get back to your EBITDA margin levels of 17 to 19% kind of range? Could you put a number to that?
So last year, we delivered a margin of upwards of 18%, and that is our long-term guidance that we have said that we will try and maintain our margins within a band of 17 to 19%. So FY22, we delivered upwards of 18%. The commodity inflation is obviously, if it happens on the input side, you can't pass on this in one go. As I said that last year, we took 3 price increases. We have taken 2 now. So over the last 5 increases, I think we have passed on quite a bit of this inflation. However, it will take maybe 1 or 2 more quarters to come back fully to the pre-pandemic levels. So our endeavor is always to deliver in the band that we have given a guidance for, which is one of the best margins in the industry, and we will continue to work towards achieving that.
Good morning, Mr. Sikka. This is Nayantara joining in. So you're talking about this robust demand, muted sales that we saw in the month of June. But in the past, you've also talked about operating at 90% capacity utilization. The first new plant that you're setting up in 10 years is still under construction. So can you give us a sense for the rest of the year, at least till the new Mohali plant is up and running, what is it really going to mean as far as your capacity utilization goes?
Nandra, we have been running for the last 4 months at almost full stretch capacity. And we will continue to do that till October month, because that's where by end of September, when the Navratra start, the festive season will kick in. So right now, all our plants are running at full capacity. Our new plant in Punjab, very close to Mohali, is coming up in full stream. And we are expecting that our first tractors will start rolling out from that plant by end of this financial year. So right now, on a full capacity basis, I think we are very well funded. In terms of certain models, certain variants, of course, we have to do that micromanagement, which happens at the plant level. But I see no concern in terms of our ramping up. Thankfully, unlike the auto sector, the tractor industry has not faced the semiconductor challenge. So we are in a good sweet spot. Our supply chains have ramped up fully. So we are looking at a very good production base, at least for the next 5 to 6 months.
Okay. Since the outbreak of the pandemic and a time before that, there has been all this talk about going green. Is it that case for tractors as well? The government, for example, has been talking about EV tractors, but can that really be a possibility? Is there even demand for it?
On EV, Nandara, our view is that the EV cycle has already played out in three-wheelers. You know that Mahindra is the market leader, holding about 66-67% market share in EV for three-wheelers. After that, we believe that this will obviously percolate down to two-wheelers. We are seeing many new players have come in two-wheelers. The established players are coming up with their products. And after that, maybe it will then go faster on the passenger vehicle side. The tractor industry would be maybe at the little later follow-up in this. That's because of technological reason. A tractor needs to be having a different parameter. I mean, technically, the low-end torque becomes very critical. I mean, I don't want to make this a very technical interview. So broadly, in terms of serving the various applications of the soil types and the various crop patterns, the EV tractor has a few more years to kind of come into it. So I would say tractor EV would happen in the later part of the EV cycle as it plays out across the world.
All right, Mr. Sikka, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us and good luck for coming quarters.